Wait, my hair.
Your hair's fine. What's up, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here with the Dan Without Fear. None of those names have anything to do with Transformers, but that's what we're talking about today.
Well, I mean, my name is already Transformers based. I'm Daniel, but we just don't go there.
Daniel, that's right.
Daniel.
Yikes. My name is not. Although there was an episode in season 1 where they did go to Peru.
That's true. That's true.
And for some reason, Bumblebee was crushing on a car?
Bumblebee was crushing on yes, a car, and Spike was crushing on the random lady who lives in the temple.
That's what us Peruvians do to you wild and crazy Americans. How's everybody doing in the chat? Thank you for joining us for this all-out Transformers talk. Now, you know me as the comic book guy. I get collected editions, but as you can see, on the other side of my room, I'm also a huge Transformers guy. I think I've always had a fascination with giant robots. I don't know why that is. And also, Dan is the big Transformers guy in the group, though. He's the one that keeps up with everything and keeps me up to date on what I should be spending my money on. So,
yeah, I will say your collection is far greater than mine, but that's as much because you just don't liquidate it as much as I do.
I have, though. I've gotten rid of a lot of my, like the alternators are all gone.
Yeah.
It's so sad, like my Japanese Beast Wars. But yeah, this is actually Dan's idea, and it's Friday night. I was just having a beer, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a live show. Sure. What do you want to talk about? And how's everybody doing in the chat tonight?
Hey, everybody. How did I not make my name Transformers theme for the episode? You know.
Oh, that's a good question. We'll go back to that one. Yeah, what happened, Daniel?
I've been trying to come up with something. I really like Dan Without Fear. I think that's pretty good. So I'm sticking with it.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good. So yes, today we're talking about the greatest cartoons.
Oh my gosh! You
ever
have
made.
Like stuff queued up.
Of course I do.
That's
I have
awesome.
planned for this. greatest scene ever. Okay, other than the Coronation Starscream, still one of the greatest scenes ever in any animated movie. Nay, any movie, dare I say, ever. That.
I'll go for that.
So sorry for throwing you guys under the bus, Justin. I'm under a lot of pressure to get this promotion. Oh well, all right, man. I hope you get it, Michael. I hope you get the promotion, buddy. Does Dan really regret buying another Optimus Prime? Dan, a few years ago, we did an episode on hell, we've done a lot of episodes. I can't keep up. Didn't we at one time talk about how you had an Optimus Prime shelf and you regretted selling them?
Yes, I do. And as soon as Photos opens up, I'll share that screen to show some of what it used to be like. This was in the. I ended up selling it right around the movie era, right before I went to law school. In fact, which was good because, frankly, after that, about when Animated came out and the tail end of the Unicron trilogy is when they started doing like, here are all the characters in every size class. And I couldn't have kept up. There's no way. So I am sad that the Prime collection is gone, but there was no way I was going to be able to sustain it, especially after the movies came out.
Yeah, I have yet to buy a movie figure. I have bought 0 movie figures because, well, I don't like the designs of the movie characters. They're not my Transformers. I mean, I appreciate the complexity in the transformation, but I never liked their, I don't know, bug and gear design to them.
You ought to get the Studio Series Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie. It's pretty sweet.
Do you have it?
I do. I don't actually have it here. It's at work. All right, so here we go. This, you'll be able to tell let's see. Can I just share one?
No.
Application window. Photos. Share. Chrome has lost permission to capture my screen.
We weren't prepared.
Yeah. anyway, it's a little bit less exciting than I recall when I'm looking at it. But
Yeah, just I love all these random quotes you guys are
I
throwing from
know,
the movie.
I know, it's
It is
wonderful.
one of the greatest movies ever made. My son is 4, and his older cousin bought him a movie version of Bumblebee, and I was disappointed. I had to make it up by getting him a Siege Starscream and Soundwave. Yeah.
My
So,
a friend's 4-year-old, she sent me a video of him trying to describe the Bumblebee figure he wanted, and I was, kind of aiming toward movie or Cyberverse, and then he said, "It's the one with the big belly." It's like, "Oh, you mean G1 Bumblebee?"
he does have my I don't know, kids just dig Bumblebee, and my daughter has a collection of just Bumblebee toys, kind of like you had your
Yeah,
Prime. She has a stuffed little Bumblebee. She has a G1 Bumblebee. I mean, she has my G1 Bumblebee I gave her.
nice.
Um, and then different variations. Like when we go to conventions, that's what she looks for. She looks for a new Bumblebee. She doesn't have a movie Bumblebee yet, except for the new. I take it back. She does have the new movie, like from the movie Bumblebee. Here's a question from Mama Mia: Is Voltron a Transformer? I mean, he does transform from cat to legs and appendages, I guess.
Or cars, or other things.
True,
uh,
true.
no, Voltron's not a Transformer, but it's definitely in that same class.
So, a lot of questions here about the Netflix show. Hey guys, what's your expectations? Is the Netflix show ever coming out? How much do you know about the Netflix show? Like, who's behind it? And other than the trailer that I know we've all seen, like,
Yeah,
what do you think
Rooster
of it?
Teeth is behind it.
Crazy.
And they will have infinite amounts of credit with me for Red versus Blue. So I'm definitely going to give it a try, though the trailer looks a lot like that Machinima series and a lot like some of the the Transformers Energon type animation, which we'll see.
It's the animation on top of CG.
Yeah, it looks like it anyway. Whether it
I,
actually is or not, this 20,
I
15 years later, who knows?
I have a fear about that, and that comes from Berserk season 2.
Yeah.
Like the Berserk movies are fine, but Berserk season 2 ruined that kind of animation for me so much. It still hurts. Like I didn't even finish season 2, and Berserk's my favorite, like one of my favorite things ever. So I saw the trailer and I was a little worried about that. What do you think of the voice acting cast?
So far so good. I'll withhold judgment until I actually see it. I don't, try to judge that on the trailer is so tough. I'm optimistic about it. I mean, the Netflix small series animation stuff
What's
that
up,
I've watched
Hunter?
has been
Thanks for
pretty
joining
good.
us. We'll make you a Transformer fan by the time this show's over. Maybe.
um, I'm optimistic. I will. I'm not gonna crap on it until it comes out, and then I will crap on it a lot because that's my right as a Transformers fan.
This isn't anything like G1. Not that G1 was the greatest.
Man, the best Transformers series, is by far Transformers Animated. Come at me, bro.
Well, I was gonna ask you, what do you think the best, like story wise, all around animation wise? What did you think the best series was? So for you, is Transformers Animated?
Well, story wise, I love Beast Wars
See,
because
I was gonna go with Beast Wars.
yeah, I mean the way they you can tell at the beginning they hadn't decided how they were going with it, but once they embraced the whole like, no, this is G1 continued and we're running with it, and I love the way that it was restricted to a small cast because of the the nature of the medium at the time, but that forced them to tell good stories. And really, in a lot of ways, Beast Wars was the first time that it was just a story for story's sake rather than a story solely to sell toys.
Well, they didn't even want to make connections to the original G1 at first, right? So that first season, it's almost like it was its own thing. You were like, yeah, these characters
until they bring in Starscream.
Well, I was gonna say until then the producers started like, I mean, this is the same studio that did just Reboot, right?
Yeah.
And Reboot has a cult following, but it really wasn't huge. right? I mean, it got canceled for a reason and picked up by another network later on. But yeah, my wife is one of those fans actually. But I think that was one of the fears. Like, okay, we need to pick like Steam up. We need to make sure that these characters are somehow connected to the original G1 characters, and that's where the Ghost of Starscream. That's where
Right.
Ravage, and then of course the ending. I don't want to ruin it for anybody of season 1 in case you haven't seen it. Has one of the coolest endings that ties it into that original series by far. Somebody mentioned Prime. That's another one of my favorite. My daughter,
Prime is great.
Well, you have the return of Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, right, as both Megatron and Optimus Prime. That had a lot to do with me.
Yes and no. I mean, you know that I love Peter Cullen forever.
I do.
But Peter Cullen's Prime now, his Prime in Transformers Prime, is more like movie Prime than G1 Prime. And when you go back and rewatch G1, you can just you feel how much younger he was and how much more fun he seemed to have with it. Whereas Latter Day Prime by Peter Cullen is very serious, and he's always on.
Well, he's more militant, right? The voice is definitely
he's more militant. He's more somber. It's almost like it's like it's like you added some Michael Ironsides to Optimus Prime, which is funny because Michael Ironsides is also in Transformers Prime, right?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But
that guy always had a cool name, even back in the 80s. Somebody was asking earlier, and I'm sorry I was keeping up with the chat. Have we ever met any Transformers voice? Oh, here we go, from Sean Sullivan. Have you met any voice actors? Yes. Dan, I'll let you tell the story about how we met Peter Cullen.
Yeah, we were at, is it BotCon, right? The
2005,
I think.
Maybe 2005.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky in that the folks who put on the latter day BotCons were in this area, so a larger number than should have been were in our backyard. Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, and we stood in line for Peter Cullen, and it was just like, and I don't normally do celebrity signings. I get nervous, and I'm not a big fan of it. But we stood in that line, and it was like, "Hi, sign, please." and he was talking, and then Omar's like, "Hey, we do a podcast. Will you be on our podcast?" I was like, "Omar, shut up." He was like, "Yes, I would love to be on your podcast."
He said, "What's a podcast?" And I said, "Well, I will tell you all about it if you give me your personal email address." And I remember having to go through his agent. It was the most amazing experience yet, as far as like meeting somebody. There are a few people, and I know the people our subscribers and viewers that watch this show know there's a few people that I do put up on a pedestal. Like, it's amazing, right? Like, most people meet movie stars that you just, you don't know what to say. I don't give a shit about that. For me, it's creators of like my favorite comic books and voice actors of my youth that I'm like, like, it's almost like a bad date. I'm like, I see myself from the outside, like, you look like a fucking idiot. What are you doing? This is the voice of Optimus Prime. Talk to him, man. But I was cool with him. He was cool. He was really cool.
Yeah. No, and for everybody in the chat, if you go back into the Nearman Condition archives, we actually put the podcast episode from About Heroes when we interviewed Peter Cullen. It's somewhere in these archives, deep somewhere. We probably put it up in the first year.
We did two interviews with him.
Yeah,
such a nice guy. And I remember trying to get Frank Welker, and Frank wrote me a letter saying, "Man, I'm just really tired of hearing myself talk, but tell my buddy Peter Cullen I love him, and love you guys." I was like, Frank Welker wrote me a letter. It was a rejection letter, but and if you're not familiar with Frank Welker, he's the voice of Megatron. For those that don't watch Transformers, and voices of pretty much anybody you grew up with, Scooby-Doo, Futurama, any cartoon that you grew up with, if it's a weird little creature in it, probably more likely Frank Welker.
Or any sound effects from those cartoons. He did most of those too. And then who was it? We met Greg Berger at the Louisville BotCon when we went for the Stan Bush concert. We were just hanging out at the Galt House.
Yep.
We met him down in the lobby, and he was cool.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Omar, are you doing a Q&A tomorrow? I will be. I'm trying to get the go ahead from David to do the. It's an advanced look at the August Marvel previews, but I have to wait to get clear from him. If not, I'll just have a normal Q&A tomorrow. But regardless, it'll be at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'll text him tonight and see if he's okay with me doing it, in case he missed my email. I know he's a busy guy.
Hey, Omar.
Yes.
Check out this comment. We got to figure out how I can highlight things, but from Rick Nelson at 813.
Rick Nelson, I got you, man. This might be the most blasphemous comment, but at some point, do you think it is time to move on from Peter Cullen as Prime? Same as Conroy from Batman. I love both, but lately it doesn't feel the same. Wow, look at that. That's exactly what Dan said.
Yeah, and I think so. I mean, I loved having Peter Cullen come back as Prime. Absolutely. I mean, it was wonderful. But you know what? I really like Gary Chalk as Prime. I really like Neil Kaplan as Prime, too. I mean, there has not been a Prime voice actor that I thought did a poor job. I mean, you know, for that matter, you know, David Kaye has played both Optimus and Megatron at this point.
Love David Kaye.
You know,
but I do love his Megatron more, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
His Megatron is probably the best Transformers voice. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. You can't get over childhood nostalgia. But
we weren't really kids, though. We were in college when that came out.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't beat, you know, Peter Cullen is always going to be up here. But in terms of like, oh yes. Oh.
Dude. And he's a big voice actor in the anime community. So he's always at conventions. And anytime I see him, I'm like, I wonder how many of these fools are getting their Beast Wars sign. Yeah, he was amazing. My wife and I quote his Megatron all the time. Man. I love his Megatron.
I'm going to get that Beast Wars Megatron. I'm going to go find, you know, when they do BotCon again next year, assuming that we're all doing it in person.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
I think Gilbert Gottfried would be the best Optimus.
Where's Bob?
No. Awesome. Been loving the Saturday streams, but man, you have been talking all of my Saturday mornings. It's like Saturday morning cartoons, man.
Nice.
I may continue doing them if, you know, once we get back to normal. I don't know. Honestly, I was thinking today, like, I was looking at all my books and doing my schedule for next week. I was like, man, I miss getting advanced books because that filled up my week so fast. Now it's like, I got to think of a couple of other episodes to do. And you guys have been great with suggestions because I couldn't be putting out the content if I wasn't getting suggestions. So it's awesome and really appreciated. You guys ever hit up New York Comic Con? We were talking about going last year, but something came up. Things fell through. I would love to go. I know I could get press passes because those people run the same con that do the C2E2. So that wouldn't be a big deal. It's just a matter of, like, you know, air travel and hotel stay and all that stuff. We're not Peter Cullen or Frank Welker. We don't get put up in hotel rooms.
So Omar, I'm curious, how did you get into Transformers to begin with?
So Transformers, like, I think it all started with, for me, my fascination with giant robots started with Transor Z. That's what it's known here in America.
Yeah. In
Peru, we called it Messenger Z, which is the Japanese thing.
Peru and the rest of the world.
Yeah, you guys and your soccer and Transor Z, but in Japan. So that's where my fascination came from. Like, and I remember seeing the Chogokin figures, like very, very at a very young age, like in the open market. Where these open markets, and if you're not familiar with that, it looks like a flea market outside, like that's open every day. And by a flea market, I mean they sell everything like fish and fresh fruit, food,
giant robots,
exactly. So, we would see that, and I'm like, man, I would love to have that. And then from there, it went on to like Macross Robotech, which is what we knew back then. Voltron, of course, and then Transformers changed everything. The More Than Meets the Eye series premiered in Spanish. I think I want to say a couple of months after it premiered here in America.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, Veritech fighters are amazing, right? Veritech transforms from Guardian mode, Robot mode to Valkyrie mode. Cool. But a toy that can transform into a gun, a truck? Oh, man, I was sold, dude. I was like, and they're sentient beings, right? Like, they talk. They don't need a little pilot. And the bad guy was so evil looking. Like Megatron and Starscream. I don't know what it was. It was all about that for me. And then I remember GoBots coming out, and yeah, even to an extent I dug GoBots just because they transformed. But man, I was hooked. It was the cartoon, and I wasn't kidding. I know if y'all have watched this channel for a while, like my brother and I, like I said, we grew up in Peru, so we had a cornfield in front of us, and we would like make little toys out of the corn husk. So we used corn to make Transformer toys. It's ridiculous, but that's the way we live. So it was amazing. Never had it. What about you? What was like? Was there like for me? It was the premiere, right? Because it was big. Like whenever a new cartoon premiered in Peru, like they set aside everything else. Like this afternoon, we're showing you 3 full episodes, and it came on at like 9 o'clock at night. So I had to stay up. What about like you? Did you remember the premiere, or did you catch it?
Yeah, in fact, it was one that my mom said, "Hey, there's a new cartoon coming on today. You should watch it."
That's awesome.
Because she saw it. I assume in like the TV Guide, and they did the 3-issue or the 3-episode miniseries, and I was hooked, and we were at, the drugstore a few days or weeks later, and they had the first few toys, and they had Soundwave, and I want to say he was $11, and I begged and I begged and I begged, and Mom said, "Well, I tell you what, we'll get him today, but we're going to put him on the fridge until you save up enough allowance to actually pay for it."
I love that story. She's teaching you about layaway.
She taught me about layaway. Yeah, she taught me about get it now just in case, and pay for it later.
Somebody was asking in the chat, didn't the Transformers episode take place in Peru? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. So I think like any other kid maybe that grew up watching these cartoons, you just assume that these cartoons were originally taking place in your country, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see. I know it's different for you, Dan, because they really did take place in your country. Yeah, well, but for us kids,
I mean, everything here is dams and oil rigs. So yeah.
Well, for us kids that didn't grow up in America or Japan, like when it was translated to our native tongue, at least for me, being 5 and 6, 7, whenever I thought these cartoons were written and created in Peru. So the episode where Bumblebee and they go to the temple in Peru, I was like, okay, first of all, none of this looks like where I'm from. None of it. What were the guys thinking? And then I realized, oh my God, what if they're not Peruvian?
So you had a real hard time when they went to Japan.
I was like, what if they're not Peruvian? And this all takes place in America. Omar, how much trouble was it setting up in a different spot? Not bad at all. I had to move some books around, wires around. It's not bad, man. I just wanted a different scenic view because you guys are used to seeing my books, and even though I have my books here, this is more of a Transformers episode.
That's right,
dude. I had a mad crush on She-Ra.
Who didn't?
Mad. I know my brother.
He's too young. He just didn't understand.
He was in the He-Man. There are some little boys that didn't have crushes on She-Ra.
Fair enough.
Masters of the Universe, yeah. Wait, why do I see figures behind you, Omar? I thought you got rid of everything. I got rid of my statues. And I got rid of my Marvel Legends. I got rid of my Batman animated series. A lot of things. I got rid of a lot of things. I still have a lot of things too, though. And I got to get rid of more to get other things. But that's the way it's a constant hustle, man. Just got to keep on moving, seeing what's hot, what's selling, and flipping it, and then coming and getting other stuff that you want.
And then regretting it.
No, I don't regret it. Did you ever read this? What did you guys think of the Transformers meet Star Trek comics?
I haven't read it. I saw it coming out, and I thought, I don't think that's for me. I mean, look, I'll probably read it at some point. I will say I did read the first issue of Transformers Terminator.
Oh God, I can't wait for that.
That's fun.
Fun in a good way. Fun though, right?
Yeah. Well, so far.
I can't wait till that's collected. That's awesome. Timmy Ray, Omar, I grew up in Chile, and hearing your stories from childhood is taking me back to my upbringing. Man, you're hitting me right in the feels. It's what I do, man. It's what I do. Are you guys reading the manga? I've ordered the first manga. I haven't read it yet. The Viz has been releasing the hardcovers.
Yeah, I got that.
Did you read it yet?
I did. Okay. It is remarkable.
Okay. When does it take place?
It's G1 through Headmasters.
So does it link up? Does it acknowledge the movie? Does it link up to the movie, or does it link up to what was it called? The oh gosh,
it's very Scramble City heavy.
That's what I was gonna say. The Scramble City OVA.
It focuses very heavily on Scramble City and the combiners, and and it's funny, like to the point of like, okay, the mini bots are gonna do like faux combining, and they were just really selling the whole combining thing through the manga. But it's also the only.
I still got the Cammy statue. I will carry that bitch over here. She's heavy, but I'll carry her if you want me to, because I can't carry this camera. It's attached to the screen.
But yeah, the manga's great. I enjoyed it, and it's got.
And thank you for that. I gave you a shout out 2 years ago. You have no idea how surprised I was when I opened that up, man. And that was a rough time. Sorry, Dan.
That's all right.
That was a rough time when I was going through. Go ahead.
It's also got like 20 some odd 30 pages maybe of high color or high quality color art from the TV magazine or whatever it was. It's great. It's a neat book. I'm looking forward to the others coming out. But yeah, it's worth it.
I wonder how many there are going to be. I love the fact that they're hardcover. Like, this is so interesting when they're like, all right, let's take a gamble. Transformers seem to be selling. Yeah. Let's go ahead and release them in hardcover. Because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of all right, damn it. I promise you, before the show's over, I'm going to haul her ass over here and show you. I don't know how it's going to look, me holding her. Look, she's right here. Ignore all the... Never mind. Never mind. Not that type of show. What Cammy statue do I have? It is the one that my boy here sent me, Terror. It's the one from Street Fighter.
This tall.
But it's the Player 2 version.
It's so tall, version. My aspect ratio won't cover it.
It's the biggest statue I have right now. She's beautiful. Let's see. Nice seeing more of you, Dan. Just downloaded Comixology to check out Transformers Phase 2. Good, man.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. So they do bundles, like humble bundles on those every couple of months, too. Like all the IDW Transformers stuff. So keep an eye out for that. So,
as you all know, I'm a huge fan of the hardcovers, right? That's the way I've been getting them. And somebody asked me earlier, and this is a really good question. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the original? This is Transformers UK. But do you prefer the IDW Transformers or the Marvel Transformers? Dan.
Oh, IDW.
Or wait, no. the Dreamwave Transformers.
IDW, no
or
contest.
The Devil's Due Transformers. I love Transformers. I have all their comic books because I love them. Like
I have all your comic books, sir, Mr. Prime.
And for me, I agree with Dan 100%. The IDW Transformers, it is the best.
I mean, there's. And we talked about this in some of the episodes, some of the panel episodes before, but like I was a cartoon Transformers kid. I had a couple of the comics that early on in the run, and they're very special to me. I read them 50 times, but it's like, issues, I don't know, 5 through 9, and then like all of a sudden there's all the stuff with Blaster and Grimlock, and I've read all that and I enjoy it, but it doesn't hit me the same way. And when you go back and read it now, it's a little bit of a slog because, they were, Bob Budiansky did a great job with that. And I love hearing him talk about it, but at some point you could tell he's like, I just don't know what to do with these guys. Let's go to the Cosmic Carnival.
Well, his issues were mainly tied to Earth too, right? And I think a lot of that had to do with tying into the early years of Marvel comics, like with Spider-Man, and then creating, I guess, Earth-like characters.
Yeah, I mean, it always had a very much increased human presence. And then, Simon Furman took over, and it was, Simon Furman brought the 90s to Transformers comics in the 80s.
And Simon Furman was, so if you don't know, Simon Furman was already writing Transformers in the UK. So Transformers was so popular in the UK that Marvel released this with G.I. Joe. What the hell was G.I. Joe called? Action Hero?
Action Force.
Action Force, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So together in that magazine, they were catching up to the American comic books. So they decided to start doing their own comic books over there. So it's freaking awesome. Like, especially what he did. And then created Death's Head, right? And then there was weird crossovers with Doctor Who and Death's Head and G.I. Joe. But despite of that, like, he is such an amazing writer. He came, and I think when he came to the tail end of the Marvel ongoing
he came
series.
in the I think in the late 50s or the early 60s, and the G1 comic ran through 80 issues. So he had the last 2 years worth of it, more or less.
Yeah, and he went balls out with like,
Folks,
let's kill this character.
Unicron coming and killing the vast majority of everybody. I mean, folks got great death scenes. Folks got horrible death scenes. More so than more. I mean, nothing could ever beat the fact that Laserbeak took down Omega Supreme in the Marvel comic when Omega Supreme's toy was no longer being sold. Or I'm sorry, not Laserbeak, Buzzsaw.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Yeah, he took a lot of liberties too with some of the characters and what they were doing. So let's see. I'm gonna go through some of these. When are we gonna get some CGI Transformers without humans? Hopefully, this Netflix series, right?
Yeah, I mean the last animated series I don't think had humans in it. I can't say because I had to stop watching it because I got really frustrated.
The Mishima one?
Yeah, the Mishima one.
Yeah. I don't think I finished watching that either.
Isn't that sad?
It is, because normally I would have. Just wait another decade for Marvel to get the license back and reprint it as Transformers the original Marvel years. Omnibus. Man, I have this fear of Marvel getting licenses back, right? Because it happens a lot of the time when a publisher no longer can afford the IP, and then it goes back to the original. Like, Marvel has the rights for some comic books. Like, they have the rights to the Ultraverse. Nothing. Not one trade. Not one reprint. Yeah, the Ultraverse. Like Prime. Those guys. They had a cartoon, too. Lord Pumpkin? No. Exiles? No. Okay. Yeah, I think you were getting out of comics by then. But that's just one example. For a while, they had the rights to the Duck comic books, and they decided to pass on that and let IDW handle that after Boom lost the rights to it. So I have this little fear of like maybe too much. It's not a good thing that they have everything, because then a lot of the things just get swept under the rug, and they're like, oh, Transformers. Nobody cares about little robots anymore. Let's see. Okay, Sean, I have a little trouble reading Transformers 2 with my Phase 2 with my dyslexia. Help. So Dan and I are going to start a new Patreon level where for $3 a month we will read you the Transformer comics of your choice.
Really? Are we doing that?
Yes. Damn it, Danny asked for help.
Omar's doing all the voices.
I will do all the Decepticons. Dan can do all the humans. You can do the character named Daniel.
We'll get Tina to come in and do Optimus Prime.
She's gonna be like, which one's Optimus Prime? Only thing I have ever seen is the Bay movies, which were awful. Do you think the IDW comics would interest me? Would get me interested? If so, are they on IST or CGN? Yes to both questions, but
yes.
I know I've spoken a lot, and you guys have heard me talk about why Transformers IDW is amazing. So, Dan, why is Transformers IDW amazing to you? While I go get this Cammy giant.
Sure. Transformers IDW is amazing because it actually tells stories about these characters that account for the fact that they're giant immortal robots, and that they can change their bodies, and they, it digs into the whole change metaphor when it comes to Transformers, because how does that play out in a race that is essentially going to live forever, barring death and war, and then the war ends. So how do these robots that are all about changing change? And it's a dynamic that we haven't really seen in Transformers before, and so it just blew me away with every issue that would come out. I mean, More Than Meets the Eye is obviously my favorite series, but the other Transformers series that were coming out at the same time were also just as good. It's just a matter of I like the characters in the James Roberts series a little bit more. But yeah, it's wonderful.
I think it was a little more fun and a little more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It didn't take itself quite as seriously.
He was doing things that no other writer had done before with these characters. Yeah. Like years. And we're talking about Simon Furman. Somebody asked earlier what we thought of Simon Furman's IDW stuff, and I appreciate what he started. But I was glad that I hate to say this, but I guess in a way like Chris Claremont's heyday in X-Men, right? Chris Claremont coming back right now post Hickman would be pretty interesting to see, and I would love to read it, but I don't know how I would feel about it. Maybe it'd be the same as like IDW Furman.
I think that's fair. But keep in mind Furman had also been writing for Dreamwave too. I mean,
well, yes, he's that's one of the things that Dreamwave did, or Pat Lee did, was bring him and Don, who's the artist?
Figueroa.
Don, yeah, into the spotlight, or bring Furman back rather. And then Furman was writing Marvel comics too. He was doing some stuff in what do you do? Ronan and Annihilation, things like that.
Oh, did he really?
I want to say it was Ronan. Yeah. Terror, if you're still in the chat.
It's over. Finished.
See? I told you I still had her. She was just on the other side of the room. She's not a Transformer, but here she is. It's a thing of beauty. Thank you again, dude. See? I don't sell this stuff that you all send me. That's crazy. Let me cancel my eBay auction, damn it.
Right.
I like Transformers Season 3. Old Snake! Yes! Yeah, the very end. Everybody could tell it was Chris Latta, right? Doing the voice of this character. And then at the very end when he screams, Cobra! You're like, I knew it! That's awesome.
I love the way that they did those crossovers between the two series without ever explicitly doing it. Like the whole, Marissa Fairborn and the different things like that, which were like, even as kids, it was like, hey, I see what you're doing there. It was great.
So toys. I
Yes.
collect collected editions.
I collect toys.
But I have a weakness for Transformers. Like that's one of the things I still keep up with, mainly because of Dan. Dan's like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And I'm like, "No." But why did I just put it in my cart?
No, but somehow I just purchased it without realizing it.
So one of the things that I loved about Transformers is when we got old enough, the kids that grew up watching Transformers when we were kids that started working at Hasbro started designing these toys. So a lot of the toy designs, basically like the classics line, were designed by these kids like us that grew up watching this stuff and now worked at these companies. So it's like the perfect version of Starscream, like the Dan's holding up the Earthrise Starscream.
Yeah.
So I love that. Like it's like, it's a huge nostalgia kick. Like
absolutely,
it's still a jet. He's still Starscream. He still has this snarky face, and the colors are all the same, like you remember from your childhood. But he looks a lot better. And and I was holding it up, like this is the classic Starscream, right? And to me, when this came out, can his legs spread apart? Oh yeah, they can. Okay.
Yeah. So perfect comparison.
I got it, Dan. I got it.
This
is the classics one, and this is the classics, and then this is the new Earthrise one, right? So I remember Dan was like, "Are you getting any Earthrise toys?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, I've got the classics, dude. I'm good."
Until you look at them, and then you're like, "Oh, that's
shit!
Why I would do
like,
that."
His articulation's so much better. This guy's just like he can't even. He's like a stiff soldier, and not in a good way. Stiff soldier. This guy. His joints, I don't know, man. He just speaks Starscream, and he's not even a masterpiece, right? This is a $30 line toy. The background that I am using is, let me see if I can do this really quick. How do I do this? I can't do it without removing both of us. But it's a picture
phase 2.
It's phase 2, yeah, and it's towards the. I guess the tail end of the Phase 2 series, too, because there's a lot of characters introduced there towards the end, towards James Roberts' run.
Yeah. Phase 2 is all about what happens after the war's over, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that when Omar, when you were going, I started waxing philosophical because I knew you wouldn't interrupt me. Pause for laugh. But that's really when, like, not only were us Transformers fans like, holy crap, this is good. Like, it's not just good for Transformers. It is legit good.
Yeah. I agree 100%. The stories in the IDW. I mean, there's a reason why I have IDW third-party toys, like, because I love the character so much that I went out and found, like, these aren't cheap, right? Like, they're 100, 150 each, especially Overlord back there.
Yeah.
But they are the IDW counterparts. So when the characters appeared in the comic books, I mean, Tarn, how the hell did we not have a Tarn toy? That dude is so awesome. He's got the Decepticon logo for a face. He is a freaking beautiful piece. Now, we have a Drift, and Drift originally originated from the comic books.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised we don't have, a Tarn.
Well, and we have a lot of Windblade, too. But Windblade came from Hasbro, as I recall. It was the kind of create a character thing that they did, and then she got implemented in the comics. But yeah, I'm with you. The only third-party figures that I've purchased are the Mastermind Creations IDW run, the Megatron, the Hot Rod or Rodimus, the Tarn. I couldn't resist. How could you resist that?
There are a few. Yeah, there's a few Tarn. This is the bigger one. This is was it Fans Project? I think is this one or MM.
No, that's MMC? Mastermind Creations.
Yeah, that's MMC. Yeah.
And Flame Toys is doing a licensed Tarn, but I don't think it transforms, if I'm remembering right.
That's the crazy thing is that these transform.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even get, like, first-party toys to do that properly. And I don't know if y'all... Damn it, I don't think I can... Well, yeah, you can. Up there, those are the big guys, right? So those are all the gestalts and stuff. And a lot of those are third party. And those things are a beast. They're freaking on. I cannot wait to put. I got Omega Supreme down here. See, one of the. So this is my secret. I hate transforming things. Like, for a guy that loves Transformers, I hate transforming these things. So I miss Dan coming over, and like I've got, God damn it, I've got Hound waiting for him to, and I've got Black Arachnia, Masterpiece Black Arachnia, and Hound, and it's really weird, adorable, and creepy. But when I see Dan in a corner when we're filming, and he's like, just keep him busy transforming.
Yeah, the panel episodes that I'm not in, I'm just over there like, okay, this Japanese instruction says to do this. Got it. I just spilled all these pieces all over everywhere. I hope he didn't see. Oh, he didn't see. Okay, I'm just gonna quietly gather them back up. There are probably Dinobot pieces all over your, underneath your shelves still.
I know you love them, but which Transformers character do you think is the most overrated and which is the most underused? Wow. Overrated, I guess it would have to be Optimus and Megatron.
No, I think overrated is Bumblebee.
Okay.
Not overrated. I mean, because the Bumblebee character is an archetype character for Transformers. Bumblebee's place was taken by Wheelie in the second season of the cartoon, or third season of the cartoon. It was taken by like Hotshot in the Energon trilogy, and until they got the name back, it's so the idea being that it's the human contact character. And if you go back and watch More Than Meets the Eye, can you still hear me, Omar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you go back and watch More Than Meets the Eye, you can tell that he wasn't even set up that way to begin with. They were going to make the human contact character Hound. But going from Scout to now he's the main character of all the Transformers series, I think Bumblebee has had plenty of spotlight time.
Oh, I can see that. But also, like I said, I feel the same way about Optimus Prime and Megatron. It's no matter what series you're watching, it's always Optimus versus Megatron, right? No matter what incarnation, even if they try to, with the exception, that's why I love the comic books, right?
Yeah.
Because in the comic books, they do. I'm not going to give anything away, but there's a lot of twists that you're like, oh yes, it's the stereotypical battle good versus evil. But then there's some twists that you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. Damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
This is funny because these are some of the questions I had coming into the toy when I started collecting toys as an adult. Is there an RC Headmasters? We just got our first legit RC, G1 looking RC 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago?
No, it was 2014 because it was part of the Thrilling 30 line.
Okay, yeah. So that's how long it took to get a legit RC toy. So we don't even have a Headmasters toy. There's third-party RC.
Yeah, and they did a whole line of Headmasters, and they did all the Headmasters from G1.
Well, it would have been hard to transform your boy Daniel into a head, though.
They have a perfectly good Windblade Headmaster. They could have done an RC Headmaster. All
right, true. I enjoyed the Transformers War and Peace from Dreamwave when Shockwave united the factions and ruled Cybertron. Was that the War Within? Is that the one with that was Furman, wasn't it?
Was that War Within 2?
Oh,
I get some of those lines mixed up because I think I don't think War Within was when they were factioned out yet.
Sorry, we forgot you're right, we did. Swerve. I love Swerve because he owns a bar. Oh, I love Phase 2, man. No, Whirl, because he's like Deadpool. Whirl, I think he's underused, and I think if he ever blew up, I guess the world needs to make more Whirl memes. Like he would be as popular as Deadpool and Harley Quinn because he's that type of character.
See, I'm gonna go with the fact that we haven't really had a character that was the return of Beast Wars Megatron. Beast Wars Megatron is the best character who has never been reused since the original incarnation. Or it never, not never. There's been some tie-in media that had him in it, but like official mainline stuff. I would love to see stories of Beast Wars Megatron.
IDW had a Beast Wars mini, and it's been collected in an omnibus. One of those little fat omnis.
Yeah, but it was not the Beast. It was all the other toys from Beast Wars.
That's right. It was the unused toys,
like Magmatron and Lyle Convoy and a lot of the Japanese toys too.
Get some sleep, William. Thank you for joining us. 1:50 a.m. in the UK, Whew. Man. Hope to see you tomorrow. Spike was supposed to be with Hound, but it was changed to Bumblebee. Yeah, that's what Dan just taught me that. I didn't know that. I'm also entertained when I see Dan transforming stuff back and forth when someone else is talking. Dude, let me tell you, we used to have a podcast. I think this is our second shout out to our old podcast, where I remember people would write in, please, could you tell Dan to stop playing with his toys in the middle of an episode? Because he would
pick up on the mic.
It picked up on the mic. And I get it's like a nervous twitch for Dan. He's like, I gotta do something with my hands.
Well, I mean, really, part of it is just I've got all of them here, so I'm gonna mess with them regardless. But it's really okay, man.
This is a good fidget cube,
like a fidget type of thing. Like when I'm, especially because I have a ton of Transformers at the office too, and when I'm just trying to sit there and think through stuff, I will pull one down and just start fiddling with it.
As a lawyer, are you going to get the Quintesson toy and go guilty? Take it with you to court, guilty or innocent? Innocent.
Well, judge. Let's ask the real judge. Guilty.
He would be like, "What the hell's wrong with it? He brought a toy to court. How is this guy my lawyer?"
I mean, I brought a Transformer to every single law school exam. And I got ribbed about it pretty substantially, but I didn't stop doing it, and I did all right in law school, so I think it worked out for me.
Let's see. So is the next Q&A going to be followed by G.I. Joe, then He-Man, Thundercats? Oh God, yes. Yeah, we all grew up at that time, man. Are the new Transformers IDW collections worth getting? So this is a good question.
It is a good question
because both Dan and I, you're talking about the world in their eyes, which is so pretty much without giving anything spoilers. At the end of what I like to call Phase 3, because I think that's what IDW is going to call it, or it could be the long Phase 2.
I think it's just long Phase 2.
Nah, man, they're not going to do that. They love selling #1 hardcovers. So at the end of that run, the universe kind of gets a reboot. Very similar, and I'm talking about a hard reboot. Very similar to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
No, not at all. Not at all. I disagree completely.
What?
Crisis on
okay, but that's a hard reboot, though. These characters are nothing like their previous incarnation. This is where Dan and I nerd out.
Now, hang on, though. It was a Crisis on Infinite Earths was a hard reboot, but it was an in-story hard reboot. The IDW universe ended because they just said, we're not telling stories in this universe anymore. We're restarting. We're not transitioning from one to the other. We're not telling you how these characters I think the universe got from here to there. It's just we're done with this version of Transformers. Now we're in our second version of Transformers.
Okay. See, the way that I see the Unicron story is very like Crisis on Infinite Earths. They're killing characters left and right, and you're who's going to be left? But anyway, so yes, it does start over. And to answer your question, I have not really been enjoying it. It's a really slow burn. I like a lot of the ideas that they're presenting, but it's just not, especially when you're coming off of like James Roberts, and John Barber's run. It's just not there for me. What about you, Dan? What did you think?
No, I'm in the same boat. Excuse me. And I try to keep in mind that the IDW universe started slow to begin with too. I mean, those first Infiltration miniseries and everything, that took a while. to get interesting. And they could
that was post Furman though too.
Yeah,
like that to me is when like after Simon Furman was told pretty much, yeah, these aren't selling as great.
Right, is when they started looking at, okay, how are we going to do this and make it better? I'm looking at it like that. They've got a lot of story that they are laying the groundwork for that I think will be interesting, but it's not interesting yet.
Yeah, and there's a second series going on too. So there's 2 series.
Yeah, and the Transformers Galaxies series with at least the first 4 issues with the Constructicons, I thought that was pretty interesting. Like I enjoyed that story.
So back to one of the things that we were talking about, because I have to the obligatory use of this. Like, so instead of Bumblebee and Spike, we were supposed to see things like this then, right? Like Hound and Spike. What's this is why
we didn't see it.
That is so out of context. I'm so mature.
I like how you just had that one queued up. Like, what am I going to prep for this episode? It's going to be this clip of Hound.
Yes, because I knew Dan would bring up the fact that Hound was the original one. Volume 12 of Phase 2, IDW collects till R1, 1 through 4. Isn't that the beginning of... Damn it, you're right. No. Because it's after... Is it after Revolution is when that kicks off? Whenever the Optimus Prime series starts, and... I think it's like 5 through 7.
When Lost Light... or when More Than Meets the Eye transitions into Lost Light and Transformers transitions into Optimus Prime. I think that would be when Phase 3 starts.
If they decide to call it Phase 3. So if there's a Volume 13, then we know what they're not going to do a Phase 3 Volume 1. Listening to Dan talk earlier, what the hell did you say earlier? Talk about the meaning of Transformers transforming. Do you think there was a more philosophical design to them?
No. No, I mean...
Wait!
No, but that just goes back to the origin of the toys.
I got to use it!
The toys... are just,
yes,
Japanese transforming robots. It's part of, and if you remember back to the original Transformers cartoon, like they or the comics never really did a good job of addressing
there
like,
it is.
What's the point? What's the point of turning into cars? And it's like Trailbreakers as disguise. Of course, this is coming from a guy who used to live on a planet where everybody turns into a vehicle. So, I mean, safe to assume if you see a vehicle there, it's probably a dude. But and then the continuation was, besides, it sure beats walking. It's like, okay, we're not going to examine this too much, and that just goes back to why the IDW run, the later run, is so good, because it actually takes that concept and the metaphor and explores what it really means.
So, and the origin of the toys is very interesting too, because it started as something else. See what I mean? Like, Dan likes transforming these damn things, and mine will forever stay like this. There were, what was it, Micro Man, right? Like, so they always had like
Micro Man, but there were a bunch of different toy lines that it came from. I mean, there were just it was robots that turned into dudes.
Anything.
Vehicles that turned into dudes, or guns, or
was it Bioman, Cassette Man, and then the radio. Who's the Radio Shack guy? The Shockwave character.
The Magnum Blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even the origins of the toys, they were kind of like, okay, we need robots that turn into things. So let's get every property out there and buy it up and bring it to America under one label. Oh, oh, these guys, like the originals, Dinobots. The original Dinobots have a place where you can put a pilot in it, right?
So pretty much, do a lot of the G1 characters too.
Yeah,
because they were designed to have little pilots in them.
So pretty much over here, they were like, yeah, we're not going to use the pilots. We'll ignore that part. They're Transformers now. So it's a pretty interesting like origin for the toys themselves.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, if you've never heard Bob Budiansky give his talk about the origin of Transformers, it's definitely worth hearing. I'm sure somebody's recorded it. It's on YouTube somewhere. But just the idea that like Hasbro came to Marvel and dumped a bunch of toys on Jim Shooter's desk and like do something with this. He was like, oh, okay. Denny, you want to come over here and do this? Not really. I have one or two good ideas. Okay. Bob.
So it was pretty much project. It was pretty much Bob Budiansky coming up with names and stats for these characters overnight, because they were going to introduce them in the comic book. And then at the time, I can't remember if they knew about the animated series or not that was coming out.
They knew about it, but they never worked in tandem. They drew from the same basic character designs, and obviously some of the characters in the cartoon drew from Budiansky's profiles of the original characters, but not many.
So there's a documentary series, even though this has kind of been shared everywhere, though, this story of Bob just coming up with these random names. And there was a good interview I saw with him, 10 years ago, I guess, where he talks about exactly what the names were, like what Optimus Prime was supposed to be, like how he originated with those names. And then Jim Shooter coming into his office saying, no, we're not using that name. We're going with this name. It sounds a lot better. Because, it was Shooter.
Yeah.
Freddie, stop being correct all the time. You're correct, Tim Meyer. That's why he chose the name Ford Prefect. Oh, okay. You're talking about the Ford. My bot is bigger than your bot.
It depends on the bot.
Yeah. So, what are you collecting now? What's the series that you're collecting besides? Obviously, the Masterpiece line is right behind you in your nice little showcase.
Yeah. So, in general,
that was the meaning. I didn't mean little. Your nice showcase. Sorry.
I collect character more than line and figure. So, like, I'm really digging the new Earthrise stuff. It's where Classics was, let's do homages and like updates to these characters. Earthrise particularly is let's do G1 with modern toy tech. It's not let's do a G1 tribute. It's not let's reimagine these characters as they might look if we created them today. This is what these toys, if you were going with the original fiction and you were making toys from it, this is what they would be, and they're glorious.
Be good, Tim.
And then Masterpiece. And I'm picking up every now and then some older stuff. Like I went. Let's see if I can turn the camera here. Oh, knocking over other things. Up there at the top, I just rebought the
animated Bumblebee.
Yeah. Well, all of the animated main cast is all up there.
Okay.
Or at least for the Autobots, and then Megatron and Lugnut. And then, I get some just stuff from the past couple of lines that catches my fancy. But really, it's Masterpiece. I'm catching up on the Beast Wars Masterpiece figures now, which was a mistake.
Why?
They're glorious. They're awesome. Just
but the expensive Tiger. How much is Tigertron going to be?
Like $220. I mean, oh yeah.
They're not cheap, that's for sure. The Masterpiece line has gone up incredibly. It's crazy. One of the things I was going to ask you is, you mentioned Earthrise, like these guys going back to the original G1 days, right? The transformations.
Yeah.
So, with one obvious exception, and that is, of course, Megatron.
Yeah.
You can't make Megatron into a gun. Not the way that the G1 gun was.
You couldn't make Megatron into a realistic looking gun.
Right, but you could make him into a laser
A
cannon.
Nerf gun. You can make him into a Nerf gun.
So, what about things like Bumblebee, where Volkswagen has to come in and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, could they do a Bumblebee in the Earthrise format, or am I stuck with my classics Bumblebee?
I mean, they could, I suppose, but they won't. And I think that just comes down to the economics of it. I mean, when it's part of
South Hunter,
part of what we're paying for with the Masterpiece line is the licenses. I'm quite sure. I doubt that extends to the $10-15 toy.
Yeah, but Bumblebee made a lot of people think it was cool to own a bug.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What the hell would you let them have? Ooh, this is a good question. What are the combiner names of the Dinobots? That's something. Is it the Beast?
Not the official.
Dino King. No, Dino King's the Japanese.
Volcanus, I think, was the name of the Combiner Wars Dinobots, but
and that was just
Beast is where it's at. I don't know about you guys. If you have never been to the Transformers wiki at tfwiki.net, you could spend days on that site. It is by far the best fan wiki out there. So much credit to the people that run that, because it is not only informative, but it is also hilarious. It takes itself very seriously in taking itself not very seriously.
Dan should be an expert on all the licensing and legal stuff for Transformers. There you go, man.
I applied to Hasbro a couple of times when
I would be a lawyer.
Different jobs come up, but I wouldn't really want to move to Rhode Island. So,
Rhode Island, wow, what a interesting place to be for Hasbro. Dan, have you ever thought of getting any of the Prime 1 Studios Transformers statues? If you haven't at least thought about it, I can't take you seriously as a fan.
I've thought about it, but one, they're huge, and two, they're so expensive.
How expensive are the Prime 1?
Oh God, they're more than the Masterpiece figures.
Well, yeah, I know that, but like, we're talking 1,000 or are we talking 500?
I want to say 500, but I don't recall.
That's not terrible compared to some of the stuff.
You.
I don't have that stuff for a reason, man. I fessed up. I said I sold my statues, with the exception of. See,
the other reason why, and if I'm remembering, I'm going to Google it real quick, because before I misspeak, I want to make sure I'm thinking of the right one. But if I am, Optimus Prime, blah 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 blah,
somewhere in the thousands, plural. Wow, they look amazing, but that's where I stop at. I just see pictures of them like coming soon, and I'm like, nope. That's good, and that's as far as I go.
Yeah, I mean they look amazing, and it's just not really for me. That's all there is to it.
Shura King is the answer for the Dinobots. Shura King. Interesting. I don't remember that. I'll pick up the IDW if Omar and Dan review Beasties and Beast Machines.
I'll do it.
You want? I was gonna say.
Do I get a commission?
You get your 10 cents commission. I just got in. Did any of you guys get the giant Unicron? Also, is it hard to get now? So I'm curious about that too, because the pre-orders closed. How long was the pre-order open for that thing?
A couple of months, wasn't it?
And it was like pay now, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like pay later. So we're talking. How much was it? What was the retail price?
$575.
$575 for this amazing looking once in a lifetime figure.
Everything with Hasbro is more of once every 20 years. Not so much once in a lifetime.
They said that once the pre-orders close, that was it. How true is that, Dan? Do you think there's going to be another window open of like, hey, we're going to make more?
I don't think so. I mean, the only other thing we have to go on is the Jabba sail barge. that they did the same way. And to my knowledge, now granted, I watch Star Wars releases, but I don't keep up with Star Wars releases just because I think it's interesting how many times they can put out the same Luke Skywalker. I realize that's a pot calling the kettle black sort of issue, but I don't think they ever said, oh, if you missed the first run, you can buy it now. That said, you see a lot of those on the secondary market for not much more than the original price. And I'm willing to bet you'll see the same thing with Unicron. I bet that there are enough people who bought it as a speculative, like, I'm going to buy this and resell it, that there will be enough of them out there that those of us who want to get them for not too much more than $575 will be able to get them if we want to.
Well, the question would be, like, if it's $575, we talking $700 for the third-party price? Secondary market?
Probably.
What does Big Bad Toy Store have on it?
I have no idea.
Because I know they were taking pre-orders, and if Big Bad Toy Store was taking pre-orders, then it's got to be well worth their money.
Let's see. I think you'll be able to get it if you want it.
$700. Oh, that was right. $775 is sold out right now. Estimated to arrive first quarter of 2021.
Yeah, not anymore. And they actually put out another production update today with like rough molds and stuff. It looks pretty good. But
man,
it's just too big.
Never.
It's too big.
No.
Yeah, some of us don't have an entire basement.
I have to move.
I have another shelf.
You see that TV? Get rid of it.
This is it.
Get rid of that TV.
All the space I got.
You don't need it. I bought the first Prime 1 Optimus, and it came to oh God! Sent it back for a refund. Too big and fragile for me. Never bought a second. Oh. The ones you guys collect are the way to go. Plus, they transform. Yeah. That's the thing with Transformer statues, right? They don't, but they look so pretty.
Well, and what one was it that was it Hard Hero that came out with those Transformer busts back in the day, like 20 years ago?
I still got them. I still got Rodimus and Optimus over there.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, hey, this is like G1. This is the character designs, but now we get real transforming toys with those same look. Mm-hmm. So why not get a toy that transforms? That said, I'm real fond of these Flame Toys model kits that don't transform. So
I love the start. Hold the Starscream one up. That's my favorite one. That's the one that if I buy that one, I'm gonna get the rest of them because I'm that kind of idiot. Yeah, that one looks so good.
Anime style Starscream.
Yeah, here, let me highlight you. That one looks so good. Love the way that one looks.
Pretty cool.
How much? What's the retail or what's the price on those?
I want to say that the Seekers were 35 or 40, and Megatron was like 50. So they're around that line or around that range.
You said models, like, so you have to put it together?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, model kits. You might as well go all Gunpla now.
I know.
You might as
well. I've got my Gunpla markers from 10 years ago that I pulled out to do those.
It's the perfect time. We're quarantined. You might as well go all full Gunpla, and then just go ahead and start doing some Warhammer, and we'll never see you again. That's the road we take, man. There's my boy Philip Evans. Gundam is life. And my brother was huge into that stuff, and I try to get him to do it. I'm like, now's the perfect time, man. You're working from home. Do it in the middle of a conference call. Just build your Gunpla. Just don't cut yourself, Yeah,
I did a bunch of those in the late 90s when Gundam Wing was big, and the model kits were first hitting the U.S. at retail. But it's been forever ago.
Yeah, that's been a while. So Earthrise, one of the things that I'm trying to do is go back and just get the characters, so that's all my G1 stuff back here, right? Like, that's G1. There's some G1 up there. But I want to get these characters, like the modern versions of these characters. So that's why I was big into the classics, and now I'm huge into Earthrise, because even though I like some of the classic molds, I think the molds are superior. Like, this is Ratchet, right? So one of the things I've been doing is going back and trying to find, because I also like him to scale, because I'm that big of a freaking nerd. So one of the
No,
things is like I had to upgrade my Octane, right? Because my original Octane is small and he looks like a wimp compared to this Octane. So the Octane that I had was smaller than the Starscream, and that's ridiculous. My friends will make fun of me if I don't have it proper.
That's right.
So I had to get this, and this is a Headmaster Octane. Just like I'm trying to get Six Shot. I was trying to find a Six Shot that I never bought because I have the original Six Shot. I have the Six Shot for the IDW looking Six Shot back there. So I was like, damn it, that's the third Six Shot I'm going to get. But, you know.
Well, and that's the other thing about Earthrise too. And I actually, if I can ever finish it, have a separate video I'm doing about this, where Earthrise is not slavish to any one particular G1 scale, except for what feels right. Like,
well, that's what I'm wondering how they're going to do Soundwave. So how big is Soundwave then?
Well, keep in mind, all the Decepticons, except for Reflector, were basically the same size in all the media.
So
the Jet, Soundwave, Megatron, they were all more. Megatron might have been a little bigger, a little smaller, depending on what depiction you had. But like Shockwave, all of them were about the same size, and they all towered over. They all towered over most of the Autobots, and the War for Cybertron series has really done well by that, by using the size classes as it has to keep the Decepticons big. And I like that. I love it.
Okay, so then I'm gonna have to look into that, because I like the idea of having them to scale. Like, because even the classics were kind of ridiculous how much bigger, like, sometimes Megatron was than Optimus, and then the Jets were different sizes. So
yeah.
This is a really excellent question, by the way, from Justin. If the two of you were given a chance to write a Transformers run, how would your story play, and who would you focus on?
I would like to focus on, it's kind of hard because I think James Roberts did such a good job with Rodimus, but I would like to focus on a Rodimus Prime that is, kind of continuing what they did a lot in the G1 cartoon of like, oh, I'll never be the leader that Optimus Prime was. But part of what they tried to do over the course of that season, and then instantly reverse it, was to show him growing into that. And I'd like to tell that story a little bit more.
Okay. For me, I like old cop, young cop kind of thing.
You want a Lethal Weapon?
Yeah, I'm too old for this shit cup with not really Prowl. Prowl is like the bad cop, right? So I'm thinking somebody that hasn't really been used a lot. So I'm gonna go with somebody that I like visually, always have, and for some
Rack
reason
and Ruin.
No, I love Trax. Trax, like, visually to me, is a cool looking character.
So you want a Miami Vice?
Yeah, so Trax, it's like Don Johnson, right?
Trax with his suit jacket rolled up.
And it's a buddy cop. That's exactly what I want. I want a buddy cop kind of story with Trax and Cup, just all over the galaxy. Cup always complaining, I'm getting too old for this shit. Trax being a ladies man. Never mind. There's no gender in Transformers. I don't know. Whatever he's into.
Depends on your Transformers.
That's right. Wait, I'm writing it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Trax and Cup. That would be my story.
Nice.
And I would get what's his name? Oh, damn it! Who's the guy that did Nick Richey to draw it? Guy's a phenomenal artist. I have no idea what he's doing these days. He's not doing any Transformer books. No, he's done some covers, but
yeah, I don't know. A lot of I don't think anyone from the old art teams on the books carried through to the new books. So
no, they don't. No gender just depends on what sites you're looking at.
Sigh.
He ain't lying. That's what Dan meant by the Transformers wiki.
Man, you got to spend some time on that Transformers wiki. I tell you, you just spend it forever.
Trax and Raoul from New York City. What was the name of the song, Dan? Also in the G.I. Joe cartoon?
In Cold Slither?
Yeah.
Is that the song you're talking about?
The song they played in that episode, man. It was on the radio.
That's a different one. But yeah, the Auto Bop episode.
Yeah, God, there were some stinkers, but you know what? It was still Transformers, so I was good with that. What was the other thing that you wanted to talk about before we end this? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we pretty much hit everything.
We hit everything.
Yeah, I just wanted to have a chat generally because it's been a while since we've gotten to, talk toys. Because you're always talking comic books and stuff, I mean,
I am, yeah. But I keep up with my toys through you. Black Widow was a feminine Transformer. She was always up to something. Black Arachnia. Yes.
Well, Black Widow in Japan.
Oh, face, Omar. You don't know shit about Transformers in Japan. Okay, my bad. Where's it at?
Actually, Omar.
Damn, you just actually me. Wait a minute, where's it at? No. Yes, I have to use it one more time. These never get old. There it is.
Oh,
that's the one I should have used for the gender one. Damn it. This is a classic. What was happening? I don't remember that episode. But no, you're right. Black Arachnian was. I love the way her character design always looks great. Whether it's in Prime when she's a helicopter, or whether it's in Beast Wars before she's Transmetal during animated. Man, so good.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have the UD Metal Optimus Prime or Ultra Magnus? What are those, Stan?
No. If I'm remembering right, they are other statues. I don't remember. I think they're posable figures. I could be remembering that wrong. Frankly, they're in the box with things that I see that I think, oh, okay, that's neat, and then I never think about it again. It's just too expensive, not for me.
Gotcha. Did you guys mention the movies? Dan's opinion on Bumblebee movie. There you go, Dan. What is your opinion?
The Bumblebee movie was fine. It was. I enjoyed it more than the other live-action Transformers movies, for all the obvious reasons, because it's just so much of a better film. I mean, Haley Steinfeld's in it. What more do you need?
You've Got the Touch.
I think that was in there, wasn't it? I don't remember.
There was a little Easter egg in there.
Yeah. So,
dude, how about the first few minutes of that movie, though?
Oh, the first few minutes of that movie were glorious, and you know.
Oh, look, Arthur just said the same thing. First 10 minutes of the movie for the win. Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to see. They announced that they're doing a new. We've been talking about it the whole time, just through metaphor. They announced they're doing a new animated film.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's great. That's the way to go. But frankly, I mean, the first 10 minutes of Bumblebee was an animated film too. So, I would love to see that.
That's what I wanted. That's what the first 10 minutes of that movie was probably the best cinematic experience for a Transformer movie. It was so awesome. Just to see the classic characters in the classic Cybertron. I don't know. It spoke so much to me.
So let's open this Pandora's box and then we'll close it for just a minute. But the thing that I find so strange about the Bay universe, and it carried through to that scene from Bumblebee, is that you have robots who are, again, to go back to what I was saying earlier when you were gone, essentially immortal. You would think that robots who are essentially immortal would be a little bit more cautious when they're shooting at other robots, they might, take cover instead of, standing out in the open and just waiting for the bad guys to show up. What I find is missing from 90% of Transformers media is, how is this different when you're, we think of armies in terms of thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, and throughout history, like one of the things, about Roman history is that like they were just eventually going to keep coming. They've just got more people. But, when your army, if you go back to like the original G1 and, before they introduced the concept that there were still robots on Cybertron, your army's 18 guys, who are pretty durable. But
I see what you mean.
You've really got to like make that work and figure out how you're going to keep those, limited, your limited human resources or robot resources.
Sean Sook, I got you covered, my man. I got you.
But again, going back to IDW, that's part of what I loved about that run was that they actually addressed that, and the whole idea that there were no new sparks coming online.
I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, there were a couple things. Amanda and I reviewed it. When did it come out? Last year or the year before last? Bumblebee.
No, it's been like 3 or 4 years, man.
You are making me feel old. I don't think it was that long. I think it was.
It was like 10 years ago.
Shut up. What would you give it, Dan?
That movie came out in 2005.
Out of 10, what would you rate the movie?
Bumblebee?
Yeah.
5.
A 5 out of 10? Dan,
yeah.
I know it's not Citizen Kane, but it's a pretty damn enjoyable, good movie. I thought it was a 7.5, I think. It's fun.
It was fun. Would I watch it over like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is a solid 7?
But how many times with the exception of the dancing scene, how many times can you see Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Wheeljack and Ratchet, man. They were the good medics. That's right. That's why Wheeljack died so early off screen in the Transformers movie. All right. So, thank you, everybody, for joining us. There was a really quick question here. Omar, you said you read everything that comes out. Do you buy the trades or do you buy the singles? I read them digitally, and then I get the hardcovers. I did, however, stop reading the new Transformers, so I'm not caught up at all. I'm waiting for the second hardcover. But I think, Dan, are you caught up or are you a couple months behind?
I'm a little bit behind. I'm caught up with Galaxies. They just did the 2-issue Cliff Jumper story. But I'm a little bit behind in the main line. I mean, as I understand it, the current issues have it like the war is starting to bubble over.
Okay.
So.
The transformations of the Transformers when I mean Eye Candy, Megan Fox. I forgot about that. There was a scene in Transformers 2 that I remember. I was with my wife, who was my fiance at the time, and Megan Fox is on a motorcycle, and she looked at me and she was like, "Oh my God, that woman is hot." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." She's all right. But that might have been the best part of that movie because Transformers 2 was just... All right. So, everybody, please stay healthy, safe. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning, a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, join me for a live chat. And I'll see what I'll do in the Q&A, like I normally do.
All right. So, thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Y'all stay healthy, safe out there. Much love to all of you. Thanks for joining us.